My first topic is about the signs. Whether, like Brian said this morning, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in life, I believe in signs, all right? If there's a stop sign in the middle of the road and you miss it, well, you increase your risk of an accident or something happening. I'm hoping that you can catch at least one of these signs, maybe the one that's the most painful for you, and we can talk about how you can address that to make your life easier. So this talk is about hope. It's about quality of life. It's about freedom as a business owner or a leader. It's about providing you the quality that you're looking for, not only in your business, but in your people and how you spend your time every day. You know, when I got here this morning, I looked at my partner, Sarah, which is over there. She's actually going to go around and give you a piece of paper right now, and if there's anybody else from the SynkedUP team that can help her, the business owners, raise your hand, and she's going to go along and give you a piece of paper. I don't have enough for everyone, so business owners, raise your hand, and you'll get a piece of paper. But when I got here this morning, I was looking at the backdrop, which is pretty cool. I don't know who the graphic designer is, but really good job. Was it you? Man. So when I got here, I told Sarah, I'm like, does that just provide hope? Like, it's the guy looking at the mountains, and he's like, man, I'm going to go somewhere. And SynkedUP is there to help. But there's a lot of resources here in the room, and I think by the time we're done today or tomorrow, you'll realize how many resources are really close to you that you can use to elevate your business. So along with hope, my son, I drive my kids in the morning. I'm not sure why this doesn't work. Oh, there we go. I might have to stand really close to change my slides. So I drive every morning. I drive my kids to school, and I have 3 children. My second one, Ben, is a lot like me. All right, he's eventually going to be probably an entrepreneur. He thinks differently. Like, just an example, he goes to school and he brings $10. I thought it would be for lunch or something like that. No, he comes back and I'm like, where's your money? Did you spend it all today? He's like, no, I invested it. Invested it? He said, well, actually, Dad, I made a loan, and it's $1 interest per day to whoever wants to borrow the $10. So he said, I borrowed that $10, and he said, my friend, he owes me 15 now. I'm like, wow, 5 days, $15. He's going to double his money by next week. But in his mind, he was trying to figure out ways to work smarter and not to have to, I don't know, clean the yard or do all these chores that I usually have them do. But he was sitting next to me, and he's got his Goldie glove. He's breaking it in, right? He's playing hockey that night. He's got new equipment. And all of a sudden, we turn, and the sun hits him in the face. I'm like, wow, the sun's bright this morning. Eh, Ben? And he's like, Dad, not as bright as my future. He took me by surprise. He's a real comedian. And he just comes up with these one-liners, right? Well, I remember at that age, the hope I had for just whatever I wanted to do in life, I was going to do it. And then life taught me a few lessons, right? And at first, I did not want to pay attention to the signs. Life was trying to teach me, like, hey, pay attention. You need more employees. No, I can do it better myself, right? Well, anyone ever tried that technique? Day after day after week after years, it gets tiring, right? And so that was my main thing I had to fix at first is, okay, learning to trust other people to do the job that I just thought I wanted to, or could do everything. And so when he said that, I thought, wow, what if they could teach that in schools, right? That, like, no matter what, your future is bright, just like on that day, if you want it to be, but only if you take action. So you're here today, you're going to hear all these, all this information coming your way. It's not important to apply everything, But it's important to listen to what's important for you, your business, your people. This morning, employee engagement. Wow. This is the number one. You're going to hear some of my guests. I'm going to bring some people on stage. I have a few clients here. I'm not going to bring all of them on stage, but we have Frisian Landscaping over here. We have Transfigurations over in the back. Don't worry, I'm not going to bring you all on stage, but Cody from Toys Landscape. We got Brian Kichi from Kichi Landscaping. And the moral of the story is these guys reached out because they wanted to change something in their business. And you're going to hear exactly how long they were stuck doing certain things, and then all of a sudden they got that aha moment. And I remember, Travis, if I can use you as an example, last year, Travis shows up and he takes me aside and he's like, Frank, I got to change something. I'm like, yeah, what is it? He's like, well, I'm putting out a lot of fires, but I know there's another way of doing it. And so later you'll get a chance to hear some of these stories of what they've done. And fabulous work, all of them. And I'm sure all of you add something else to what you're doing every year to try to better your business, because you wouldn't be here. You're amongst the 5% of people who actually attend these events to make their business better. It's not that the rest, they want to learn, but you really value learning. You really value quality of life, and that's what we all have in common here, is we all value quality of life, or a better quality of life. So, success leaves clues. And all of you in here have some kind of success in some areas of your life, whether it's business, personal. But I've realized over time that when you don't have time for your personal life, when your business takes over your whole life, it can also destroy it. And the perfect example of that, I'll admit, one day I showed up and my wife at the time was all packed up. She's like, hey, you love your business? Have fun, right? 3 young children, 2, 4, 6, anyone can relate? That age is busy, right? So my life only got busier trying to figure out how to fix that problem. And the problem was to simplify my business. It was actually to do less. I was always trying to do more. What that experience taught me was I can actually do less and have better results. So I want to share some signs. This is like life. It's not life talking to you, it's me, but take it as if it's just life taking a moment to ask you a few questions about you, your business, what you want, what you value. And I think we're all in agreement that we can't use the excuse that we don't have time anymore. Because if you have time to watch TV at night, you have time to do some of these things. If you have time to, do stuff on the weekend, go camping, I don't know what you guys do, but if you have time for this, you have time for making your business better. So this morning I'm going to talk about signs that you're not in control of your business, because I think it's important for us to realize, have that aha moment of what's working and not working. And then this afternoon, we're really going to focus on strategies, on how to go from one stage to the next, to the next, to the next. So, we all have success in here. Take time to talk to the person next to you, or at the event tonight, or the event tomorrow. A lot of people could change your life, and they might be just sitting right next to you. They might have a resource they can give you. They might have some information. And so I say, talk as much to as many people as you can, all right, during this event. I wish life was as easy as that, right? If you could just drive and you'd be like, okay, I'm going to take the road to opportunity, or I'm going to take the road to failure, or I'm going to avoid the road to failure. I wish it was like that, but unfortunately it's not. The signs that we get are often only when it's too late. When the employee comes to you and gives in this 2 weeks notice, right? That's a sign something could be better for that person. And if you knew it, you could have done it, possibly. Or maybe you get to the end of the year and your accountant tells you there's no profit. So the sign could have been like, hey, maybe I could have checked in a few times before the end of the year to figure out what was going on financially with our business. So let's pay attention to the signs, and let's be careful for the owner's trap. Because there's really, you can be a business owner or business operator, and there's a huge difference. The business owner owns it. The business is an asset. The business grows in value every year. And then if you're a business operator, you're in charge of everything. You take care of the people side, the problems. You have to come up with the strategies. You have to do the training. So today is about looking at how you can stay away from the owner's trap, all right? Which is being an operator for a long period, because that can be really challenging. The owner's trap looks a little bit like this. If you're the primary salesperson, all the customers always deal with you. They can't deal with anybody else in the business. Maybe because you don't trust them, maybe because they're not trained. Or maybe you just don't have a system in place that works. If you offer too many services or products, if you're a small company and you offer a lot of services and product, it's going to be hard to train your staff because you don't have a lot of staff and they can't be good at everything, right? If you're the only one that can deliver a service or something within your business, or pretty much everything that goes onto your business, that's something to look into as well. And then the owner interface with the customer. If you're the only one the customer can talk to, that also creates problems, not only for the customer, but for your team. Because they're not engaged, and they just won't care as much for the customer. So, sign one. Does everyone have a sheet? Paper? Okay. If you experience chronic stress, I'm not talking about just regular stress. Have you ever woken up by the way, I'm from Canada. This morning I kind of laughed. Someone said, I think he was just making a joke, but he said, oh, you're from Canada? And I said, yeah, we're from Ottawa. It's the capital. He said, oh, it's not Whitehorse? Whitehorse is like right next to Alaska, Yukon. So who knew that Ottawa was the capital of Canada? Everyone's going to raise their hands, no? Okay. Just a test. Now you know Ottawa. So I'm from Ottawa, and if you hear the accent, that's just because I'm bilingual in French. If you don't understand anything, just raise your hand, and I'll repeat in English. So if you experience chronic stress, if you wake up in the morning and your stomach is turning, anyone ever experienced that? Yeah? I remember one year, right before the economy crashed in 2008, 2009, every single morning I thought I was going to be sick because the phone went from ringing all day to not ringing anymore. And we had 110 people and families to take care of. I was almost sick to the point where one day, so tired as well, I got home and we were renting our home. We had an RV parked in the yard. Remember walking up the steps and collapsing because my body said, nope, no more. You're going to take care of yourself or else you're not going to function anymore. So chronic stress creates disease. And what would be worse than working hard all your life, let's say 30 years in landscaping, you finally sell your business, you're all happy, and then you collapse, right? What about just if it can get easier and less stressful? So if you feel like that every morning, or very often, more than 50% of the time, check it. Also, if in your business you feel like you're always putting out fires, that's also a sign. So if you feel like no one's proactive for you, no one's helping out, it's always you putting out the fires. You get phone calls all day. I remember one time, someone asked me, I says, how many phone calls do you get every day from clients and employees? So I took my phone bill that month, divided the number of days I was at work and the phone calls I was getting. 72 phone calls a day was the average. That means that every 6 minutes, from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, whatever it was, my phone was ringing every 6 minutes with an issue. No one was calling me with good news. It was always, hey, this has happened, what do we do? Hey, what's the matter with this? Hey, why are you guys not here? I had no systems for delegating all this information, all these people that had They needed something from me, but they had no system that guided them. So that was the sign I needed to change something, and that's what we did. We went from 110 employees to 30, and we decided not to grow until we systemized everything about the business. And we did. We grew a little bit more, and we almost had 1/3 of the employees and almost the same revenue. But this time we had profit. All right? Number 2, you have little or no time to work on your business. Whether it's office, admin systems, or just field systems, and you have no time for vacation during your busy time of the year. Let's say from March to December. All right? No time for vacation. When somebody tells me in June that they're going on vacation and they own a landscape business, I know they have a few systems in place. And some people, that's their only goal when they start working with me, like, I want vacation during my busy time, right? So whether that's your goal or just making more profit or building a business that's an asset. Like, let's say you own real estate. Would you like to own all kinds of real estate that's not growing in value? Who here would buy real estate if it didn't grow in value? No one, right? And the reason is it would be a waste of your time, right? It would just be creating a job just like anybody else. But it's not something that grows in value. And why not grow your business in value? Because when you're growing your business in value, it's an asset. And eventually, you're gonna get out of landscaping one day. Maybe some of you are like, no, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. Trust me, one day you're gonna be like, hey, I'm either gonna close my business, I'm gonna sell my business, or I'm gonna build some kind of succession planning for my family. Let's say your family's interested. But do you want to pass over something that's not systemized, right? So that's sign number 2. Sign number 3, you don't operate, plan, or make decisions with a company budget. I know companies, when I first met them, whether it was at 1 million, 2 million, even one at 5 million in revenue, they had no company budget. The owner always went with his gut instinct. He said, well, I think I should make the decision I'm gonna buy that excavator. I think we're gonna make enough money. Or, hey, I'm gonna hire 1 extra person or 2 extra people. But he had no idea what the final result would be unless he had a good year. So as soon as we implemented a budget, he started to make all his decisions based on facts, data, like stuff that makes sense. If he didn't reach his revenue goals, then he did not buy the equipment. And all of a sudden, he started growing 10%, 20%. Not only that, but his profit went up from 2% to 8% to 15%, just because he knew where he stood every month, actually every week, on every job. So budgets is, if I had to start all over again and learn that lesson, this is the first thing I would do. I would sit down and do my budget. And there's all kinds of tools. SynkedUP has all kinds of tools that are free to help you build your budget, even though whether you're using the software or not, there's free tools out there to help you do this. Sign number 4, you don't know your net profit percentage on every job. So that's a sign that your business might be controlling you. Because what's worse than working a whole year? You pay your employees, they get paid. But what if there's nothing left at the end? And what if you only pay yourself if you're profitable? I've done that before. How many years did I can remember working probably the first 5 years and barely taking any income. I was like, if we're profitable, I'll take it. That was my first mistake. If I can't afford to pay myself, it means I can't afford to be in business. I need to change something right away. So knowing your net profit on every job will tell you your lesson. It's going to be a sign, whether there's something to learn out of that. Even if you are very profitable, it means there's a lesson to learn there as well. You did something right. So whether you have a lot of profit or no profit, at least you know where you stand. and what the lesson is on every job. And maybe some jobs you'll decide to never do them again because you'll say, I'll never have so many headaches for so little money ever again, right? So that was my aha moment, because when we realized that we weren't profitable, I'll give you an example. We stopped building decks because we just realized we never made any money on them. The guys were really good at hardscapes, but we didn't have any carpenters, true carpenters, that could really make that project happen. We had guys that were like jack of all trades, master of none, but we realized that it was better if we just focus on the hardscape part of it. And we had a garden center, we let that go. We had other services like planting and lawn installation. We started subbing that out. Sometimes it's the way to go. And maybe you have systems enough that you want to keep doing what you're doing, but knowing your net profit is really important. Sign number 5, your employees threatens to quit if you don't give them what they want. For smaller companies, that was part of the problem when I woke up in the morning sometimes. If you have a few leaders that you feel hostage, almost like a hostage to them, you always worry for the worst case scenario. Did that ever happen to you? Anyone in the room or just me? Oh, just me. Okay. Oh, no, we have a few. Okay, good. I was kind of worried for a bit. That's a sign that the business is controlling you. Number 6, you are afraid to grow your business. Like Brian mentioned this morning, some people don't have a goal to grow the business. They just want something that's stable, that provides money, and that's simple. But I know some people that run a $10 million company and they barely work every week because they have the systems. Not everyone wants a $10 million company, but if someone was to offer you a $10 million company and said, hey, just make sure you work about 5 hours and make sure you check your numbers and lead your people. If you can do that, it's yours. Would you take it? There's a few, okay. Again, it has to stay simple, right? So we'll talk about that this afternoon. You experience constant issues with clients, or you have issues with expectations. Every interaction, whether it's your employees or your clients, it always has to do with expectations, right? Because if you don't explain on the contract that if the client adds another 2 feet to his patio, he doesn't ask you, obviously, the business owner or the salesperson, he's gonna ask your employees, hey guys, I see you have a bit of pavers on the pallet left over. Would you guys mind adding a couple feet to the patio? I'm saying that because it happened to me. And we realized that when you add a 2 by 50, it's 100 square feet, it's a pallet. Yeah, we have an excavator, it goes quick with an excavator, but if we add half a day's work, that's like a couple $1,000 sometimes, right? The foreman thought he was doing a favor. He's like, it's just gonna take me a couple hours, I'll do it. I have some leftover materials. But when I did the math with the foreman, I said, hey, this is money we're never gonna be able to make on any other job because we lost it this morning. Not only did we lost the opportunity to make a couple thousand, we have to work that much more just to make up for it. And then the foreman got it. He's like, oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a couple $100 for but the client was spending so much, I thought we were just, no. So a lot of companies don't like change orders or to get change orders because they're scared of the clients, what their client's gonna say. Imagine if there's on a $10,000 job, let's say the client adds 3 or 4 things and it adds up to $15,000. If you only charge 10, not only are you in the hole for that job, you're in the hole for the next 5 jobs for profit, just to be even. And that happens all the time, right? So unclear expectations, it's just making sure that your contracts are clear, that you communicate well, and the more you tell the client before you start the job, the less surprises there are. And so we used to tell the clients, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of dust, We're gonna be, your yard's gonna look worse for a few days before it looks better, all right? And then the client knew where we stood. Stuff like, hey, don't let the dogs out or the kids out while we're working. It's pretty simple for us to understand, but for the client, some clients have no clue, right? Then it slows down everything. Then you get 2 or 3 phone calls, one from the foreman, one from the client, right? So, another sign. You don't track KPIs. KPIs are just numbers. They're key performance indicators. They're indicators that it's either going right or it's going wrong, or there's something you can improve. And it's your guidance. It's like going to what's your favorite sport? Football? Imagine going to a football game and there's no scoreboard. Like, they just keep touchdowns and this and that and points and field goals and nobody's keeping track. At the end, everyone would be like, who won again? It was pretty tight, but I can't remember. Did we score 7, 8, 7? Right? It would just take out the fun out of it, because you'd have to ask people constantly, hey, was that a goal? Did that count? What if no one tracked anything? They just played for a couple hours, just everyone's running around, throwing balls. It would take out the fun, right? Because when you don't know if it's going well or going wrong, no one can be engaged. Your team cannot be engaged, just like Brian mentioned this morning. People need to know, where do we stand? How can we do better? Did we win? People want to know, did we win, right? Every time I go with my kids to see a game, or I go see their games, hey, Dad, we won. Like, they know exactly what's going on in that game, right? They know the points, and when they're young, they stop. If it goes above, like, let's say it's 5-0, they stop the scoreboard. They don't go beyond that, because they're scared that the little kids will be too discouraged, right? So the other day was 8-0, and all I saw on the scoreboard was 5-0. And I told my son, I said, hey, you guys won 5-0. He's like, no, we won 8-0, right? He wanted to make sure that everyone knew that he won and by how much. And so your employees are the same way. And it is a motivator. Sign number 9, you struggle with cash flow. That's happened to everyone. Well, maybe not, but it happened to me. And most business owners that I meet, it happens. So as much as I like having everything paid and buying a machine cash, sometimes it's the worst thing you can do to grow. Because if you take, let's say, 80 grand or 100 grand and go buy an excavator, then you have zero cash flow, let's say, to hire 2 more employees that could produce another 500,000 to 600,000 for you that year. So you really limit yourself. That excavator is going to make you money, yes, but not as much as great employees that you could pay 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year that could do part of your work as well and take some of the workload off your back, right? And sign number 10, you do not have an automated lead generation and sales process. During COVID, most companies I was talking to did not even have to try. The phone was ringing. They were booked 3, 4, 5 months, a year. Even one client, 2 years in advance booked. All right? Good for them. But what happens if the economy slows down next year? We've already experienced it most places. I got clients from the East Coast to the West Coast, South, North, and they've all said pretty much, well, I would say 80%, that they have to put in more effort in marketing in order to get the same amount of leads. Am I close? Yeah? Some of you, yeah? And if you're among the lucky ones that you didn't even notice a difference, good. It's a great sign. Maybe you have really good branding. Maybe people know your brand and they know and trust you, your business, and that's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a question. Would you buy your business? If someone showed up to your door and said, hey, I got an opportunity for you. Here's a business, and it would be yours, what you have right now. Would you buy it? If the answer is yes, great, keep going, because you probably love what you have. If the answer is no way, well then just let's talk about it today. Let's figure out what's the next step. What's the next thing you can do to like your business a little bit more and to grow that value of the business? Because a valuable business, people want to buy valuable businesses. All right, so I'm going to give you a few examples. Anyone, he's from the area. Anyone know him? Downs Brothers Landscaping? Few? Okay. So Mike's an awesome guy. But Mike's a typical contractor. He likes, going site to site, doing sales, interacting with the clients, and setting up his crews in the morning. But he doesn't like issues or doing stuff like admin work. Does anyone here love admin work? I admire people who, yeah. Usually when I ask the question, it's because we love working with our hands. I had to force myself to do that. So I told Mike, I said, Mike, if we're gonna work together, you're gonna have to do admin work. He's like, Frank, there's no way. And then I talked to his wife. I'm like, would you like to do admin work? She's like, well, I can help. So I was like, okay, we got to do something. So I think I just saw Angelica. Perfect. So I met Angelica here last year, and I thought, I'm going to test this out, all right? This is awesome. If you know Mike, so Mike has one tone, okay? Mike is very just easygoing kind of guy. But when he talks about advanced administrations, okay. When he talks about that company, his face lights up. Like it's almost like he's talking about his wife, all right? He's just poof. And so Mike was afraid to grow the business because he could barely keep up as it is, all right? So let's say he's at his revenue is like, Frank, because we were doing his budget. He's like, I don't really want to grow because I can't afford to do more admin stuff. So he hires them part-time, 20 hours a week, all right? And he's like, I'm going to try out, Frank. I don't know about remote admin services. I don't know how that works. And Mike is not tech-savvy at all. And he'll admit it. He's the first one to admit. But all of a sudden, so he contacts advanced administrations, and they find people that can do your admin work remotely. And so I knew that they do stuff like answering the phone, doing emails, even bookkeeping, but there's so much more, all right? So I said, Mike, what are they doing for you now? He's like, well, I'm saving a lot of time now, Frank. I'm like, okay, well, explain, what are they doing? He's like, well, now they're doing calls, scheduling, emails, CRM upkeeping. They help with my marketing. They give me ideas. They manage my photography. They found, the lady who helps him found a photographer online. The photographer sent her the pictures, and then Mike didn't even have to look at it. He said, she picked the best ones anyways. But all he did was trust the process. That's what advanced administrations did for his business, is they're the pros at that, and he's the pro at doing the sales and all that stuff. So he grew by 300,000 this year, which he was trying to avoid doing, but that's what he's going to probably hit at the end of the year, 300,000 more than last year, just because he's freeing up his time to do other stuff. All right? That's with 20 hours of help. They're even going to go, so he's showing the assistant how to do job costing using software. They're also doing estimate prep, so he sends all the information. That person puts it in the software. Because when your software and the productivity rates and your templates are all in there, anybody can do it. So he would send all the information. This person spends, I don't know how much time, maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, just prepping everything. He looks it over, and he sends it to the client. Then she even interviewed candidates for the new job. He gave the template, and he said, Frank, she did a way better job than I can, because he hates doing interviews. He's just a guy who likes to do his thing and sell his jobs, but he's not an HR department. So this person did that. He's happy about that work, and plus there's a ton of other admin tasks. I didn't even know Angelica was going to be here this morning, but if you're having problems in this department and you feel alone in your business, have a talk with her, or have a talk with Mike, because he'll tell you how much it changed his life, because this is the thing that he despised the most. Toys Landscape, another company and client of mine now we've been working together for 2 years, right? Cody's right here. So we're going on 2 years, And when I got a call from them, the big issue that Ryan had mentioned on the phone, so we have Cody, Ryan, Jesse, their dad, Greg, and I think that's your uncle? Anyway, family business. Ryan said, I'm going to be taking over. And I do a lot of succession planning and business valuations. So he was looking at, he says, how can we increase the business value but not do everything in the business? So his dad, who had run the business pretty much like a contractor and doing pretty much a little bit of everything all his life, the sons were going to take over. They said, we want to change this so that we're not doing all the work. We don't want to be in the field every day. Perfect. So we started out, and I asked them, what's the one biggest thing that you want to fix, that you want to avoid happen or get worse? He said, we don't want to be time poor. We want to have a family, and we want the family to be able to enjoy time with us as owners. So they did a total business overhaul from 2019 to 2023. They went from $900K to 2.5, and we had to work hard on the profit part of it because oftentimes all the profit went to buy more equipment, or decisions were made where there's not a lot left at the end of the year. So when we were able to focus on that, they were able to do many things, including hiring more people. So that's just what Ryan sent me for his information. But they implemented stuff like inbound lead forms, so they could get anyone to answer the phone and kind of pre-screen the customer that calls, right? They did qualifying, so inbound calls, so that's the question. Then this is the qualifying form. So they qualify based on a lot of things. They get photos from the client, and they process to see if there's a job that they want. They also track their leads, right? Has it ever happened to you? So I was really bad with that. So I was doing sales in my business, and I would have Post-it notes everywhere in my truck. And sometimes I would find a Post-it note and say, oh, no, I forgot to call this job. It was like a $100,000 job that I forgot to call back. Because when you're busy and you're doing 15, 20 of these a week, some of you can relate, right? And so they decided, no, there's no guesswork with us. Anybody in the office can click on this document on a Google Drive. All the people who have access to these forms can look at the form and say, all right, Ryan's not here this morning, so let's take a look at the leads that we got to reach out to today, right? They have all that information. They know which one closed, which one didn't close yet, which one they have to get back to. So this was an example. And they track their potential revenue with it as well. Over here, project checklist. So they know every week, every month, where they're at revenue-wise, and they know if it's profitable or not. They know if they went over the man-hours estimated, and they know where they stand and what they need to do on the next job if they have to make up for the previous one. Right? So these are just examples of what they've implemented to know. On the pre-construction process side, they started doing simple stuff like, hey, we're not going to provide too much information to the team, but we're going to provide them information that's really valuable, like how many man-hours per work areas, and that's all in this. So when they print out the estimate for the client, they can print out a different version for the foreman, and the foreman sees all the materials, all the time that has to go in, and he knows how to set his goals for the crew. They also have team meetings 1 week before starting the job, so the foreman can think about it for a week, and they saw a dramatic increase in productivity because the foreman was ready. There's no surprises. He gets on site, he's thought about the little things that he needed for that job. And they provide a sketch, a cross-section now, just so that the installer can see what it looks like as a final product, from the side, from the top, what kind of materials they use. It's very clear and precise. Which before, they had a plan, but the foreman had multiple questions after. How high? Which kind of block? What color goes where? All right, so they do, just by doing that, it changed a lot. I'd love to bring Cody here on stage just so that he can talk a little bit more about that, but that's an example of the post-construction process that they change. So after each job, they look at the job and they say, okay, silver team, this is what we budgeted, this is what you did. So they divide their teams by color, and they just provide feedback to their teams and say, hey, that job went well, keep going. Or we were over hours, here's what we're gonna try to do next time. So they have these discussions after each project with their teams.
All right, Cody. So, Cody, from everything that you've experienced the last 2 or 3 years, all right, what's changed your life the most out of implementing some of these things that you've done? So what was your aha moment about wanting to change your business?
I think our aha moment was realizing that we can't do everything for our business and to not be afraid to outsource certain things, especially in the sales process. We've went through tremendous growth, introducing new systems that help us find out our customer's budget, what kind of project they're looking for, even in the sales process.
What made you contact a consultant, or what made you reach out? What was your breaking point?
I just remember coming home every day from work and just being tired, feeling like kind of like you were drowning.
Yeah.
It was just, we knew that we needed help from other people, and it was just reaching out to Frank, and he even guided us where to go, just not being afraid to talk to people. And
Yeah, because what I realize is most business owners know what to do, but sometimes it's in what order. What do we do first? What do we implement so that we can go to the next one? And that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. How do we go from one stage to the other? Any questions for Cody? Because we're going to come back to all the systems and stuff, but if you guys want to pick his brain around the event, I really encourage you, because these guys have done so much. There's one slide I wanted to show, it didn't go there, but can you talk to me about the marketing piece of it? Because they implemented a sales process. So they automated from marketing, the whole sales process to closing out the job, and it's pretty much automated to the point now that you guys are doing a lot of the work, not even having to go to the client. And so there's a couple softwares that I think help you do that. You're in charge of marketing now, so you went from a foreman on the job to basically doing the marketing, but you automated it because you guys were doing signs, you were doing stuff in the newspaper, you were trying everything, and you realized it was not predictable. So you just wanted your leads to come in all the time and be predictable. So what did you guys do for that? And on the sales side, what did you guys change for the process?
Yeah, we actually went with a company that Frank recommended. This company has landing pages that they run through Google and Facebook. They put in their basic information, tell us what kind of project they're looking for, and then they click on the landing page, give us their information. We give them a call, which they give us their phone number again. And so we send them a text, and it asks for project information, what their budget is.
That's for the client?
Yeah, for the client. What their timeline's looking like. I mean, the biggest thing is just getting like what their budget's looking like for this project out in the open. Yeah. I know I kind of struggle asking a customer what their budget is before we even start, but having them just click a button and giving us an idea.
Because you guys use the software, what is it? It's Groundwork?
Yeah, it's Groundwork.
Does anyone here use Groundwork? So Groundwork is software which you guys can exchange information with the client even before finishing the sale, and the client can upload photos and videos to that software, and you guys can communicate, and basically you can start providing an idea with what the client could expect in terms of budget. So if you, right, that's how you do it?
And it's all through automated. The first part's the automated text. They'll send in an application. We don't even know that we're getting hold of them until they submit the video.
So it could start on your website, so they haven't met you yet, but they reach out, you send back a text right away, they start the process, send you photos, you can get back to the client, say, hey, here's what you're looking at for a budget. Client says, yeah, let's keep going, let's keep talking about it, and then you're ready to meet with them and to the next step.
It's helped us tremendously with pre-qualifying before we even meet people. I mean, if we know that this job's an hour away and their budget's under $5,000, we send them a text and refer them out.
Yeah. So if you guys are thinking about digital marketing, you're going to get a whole bunch of leads, and you need a way to process that. And you can't go see everyone, and you need to know who's the good one, who's serious. So here's a couple tips. The company, I mean, there's lots of companies, but this one's WebRunner Media. The software used for sales is Groundwork.
Groundwork, yep.
And then obviously synced up to
Job
costing and the estimating process. Yeah. Cool. Well, big round of applause for Corey. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. So Friesen Landscaping, I met them here last year, and like I said, Travis sat down and said, I want to change the fact that we're reactive and we're not able to catch the stuff. It's stressful. So what can we do? And so we started implementing different things, and I'll let them do a little bit of the talking, because at first, you were probably skeptical that things can get better when you've been operating for how many years? 13. So you're doing the work for 13 years, and all of a sudden someone says, hey, no, it can get better. And I was telling them, no, you're already doing a lot of great things. And they're like, Frank, it doesn't feel like it. Because they're hard workers, and they'll tell you all about it. But if you don't mind coming on stage and just sharing a little bit about what you've done, because one of the things that you had mentioned was you were experiencing chronic stress, putting out fires all the time, correct? And so what I like about Danny, so Danny and Travis Friesen, big round of applause for them. So you got the mic, perfect.
Football.
So after all this time, I sat down with Danny the other day, and she says, well, what we realized is that we had to open our minds to the possibilities, even the ones that we didn't believe in, even the ones that we didn't think could happen to us, but also they're closer than you think. And so tell me a little bit about what you guys did and how you started out, whether you were skeptical or just not a big believer at first, and how that transformed over the...
So I would say the biggest change, all the changes in our business started when we decided to align ourselves with people who were interested in our business, who were interested in our well-being. There's SynkedUP, there's Frank, but it all started with putting our trust into Unilock, a company in our area that literally nobody wanted anything to do with. Just keep your eyes open, listen when people are talking, figure out, even if they're a makeup company or whatever they are, you can take pieces and things from those businesses and apply them to yours and see how they're going to work. But Travis is going to talk a little bit about our experience with Unilock and how it keeps opening doors for us.
So I saw a change needed in our company, and in our area, our market in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, Unilock is like working against the grains. No one does it. I wanted to be different, so I jumped on that wagon, and Unilock has changed my life 180 degrees and business. Without them, they had the spring kickoff meeting a couple years ago, and Weston was doing a Zoom on the very end, and we were looking for someone to do our estimating and invoicing and whatever SynkedUP does. And so we jumped on a Zoom with Weston, and I was freaked out by the money, and we jumped on it. It was great.
I even told Weston that we were excited. The cost was great. We started in January or February, I believe. This is our second year with SynkedUP. They were like, it's $3,600. We're like, no problem. For an entire year, that's easy. I can put that investment into my business. Come July, they're like, well, you owe us another $5,000 or whatever dollars. And I'm like, I was mad, and he knows, I was like, how am I supposed to afford $8,000 into our business in 1 year when you're in this state of chronic stress? You have no idea how much money you're making. You're afraid to spend money sometimes to reinvest into your business. And I told him he was crazy. But we stuck with it. We made the decision to stay with it and to keep going and to move forward. And then Travis came to our first SynkedUP Summit last year.
And last year I came, and Frank was on stage at Tussie, And I still remember the day, 5 lines down in my notes, must hire Frank. And here we are. It was the best decision ever. We can bounce ideas off with Frank. My business was here making 3% of the year, and then SynkedUP came, and then Frank came, and now and you'll learn tomorrow, we're having a table talk too, how we double our profit. It's been great. Couldn't done it without these 2 guys right here.
But
And I didn't even tell them to say that, so thanks, Travis. It means a lot, thanks.
But SynkedUP helped us learn what our budget is. Was it perfect the first time we did it? No. Was it better the second year we did it? Absolutely. You're going to continue to learn year over year. You don't have to be into perfection, but if you don't know your budget, you don't know your price per man hour, you don't know how much to charge, and you don't know what your profit is. Most landscaping companies are making between, 4 and 8%?
If they're lucky.
If that. And I can tell you before SynkedUP, we were probably making 4 to 6%. Last year, our first year with SynkedUP, we probably made over 10%, If we wanted to buy that excavator, which we did, by the way, and we wanted to pay for it outright, we could have, but we didn't, because we put our money other places as well, so.
Speaking of which, what are you doing now? What did you just tell me a few weeks ago that you're doing because of the extra profit you're finally seeing in your business?
So my why Travis's why is probably different than mine, but my why for owning a landscaping company, for running one, is so my family can live the way that I lived growing up. My dream has always been to own a farm, and we just did it. We just bought a farm. We just moved an hour away from where we were before.
Round of applause.
And we're living our dream. Has it been hard? Yeah, but if you keep working at it every single day, you can do it. But, talking about opening doors, we took a chance with Unilock. We took a chance with SynkedUP. We took a chance with Frank. And doors keep opening for us, and opportunities keep happening, and you have to look out for those. We talked about a waste calculator with Frank. That's something that can make you sick to your stomach, literally.
We'll talk about it this afternoon. But it's just a big eye-opener, right? You start realizing where you're putting your
If you're
time
going to
in.
talk about this afternoon, I'll let you. But I'll just say that I filled it out with Frank, and I about cried how much I was wasting daily.
Just
I know
loading and
Sutton,
unloading.
you know what I'm talking about probably. But unloading, I was losing $162,000 a year. Let that sink in. So it's crazy. But he'll talk about it this afternoon. But it's well worth taking that quiz and figuring that out.
Wow. Thanks, guys. Big round of applause for Prison Landscaping, Danny and Travis. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Oh, yeah, I like that.
What's the most common problem with small companies?
What's the what?
Most common problem. with
Most
small
common problem?
companies.
People problems.
Of course.
What, am I right? Yeah. But people are very predictable. I do a whole talk on this, 2 hours, and literally people start going like, oh, and I'll talk about it a little bit this afternoon if you want, but we can break them down in 4 categories, and it's gonna help you understand how to deal with people a little bit better if it can help you, so we'll do that. And feel free to reach out to me on social media. It's just Frank Bourque. Whether it's Instagram or Facebook. I respond to messages also, so if you have a quick question sometime, feel free to reach out that way as well.
All right. Frank, I'm over here.
Oh.
Yeah, I got another question. This one's pertaining to a change we made. So we work in a major U.S. city in the South.
Yeah.
Our work area radius is about 3 miles. I know it sounds ridiculous. All of our materials are delivered. Everybody direct reports to the job site. The savings that we've noticed based on past numbers of just man hours of commuting and loading and unloading,
Yeah.
we've adjusted for that. What is the average daily rate with the solely production that you're seeing right now?
Per person?
Per man, correct.
Per man?
Yeah.
So it varies per area. So if you're talking Midwest or East Coast or, but I would
Southeast.
say in construction, and you'll hear numbers all the time, But it used to be, you know, I hear people say, oh, we used to charge 75, 65. It's way up there now. We're talking 85, 95. I have a client that charges $100 to $120 per man hour. I have one that charges $140 per man hour. It's whatever the market can tolerate. But it also, you can only charge the value that you bring.
Yep.
So if you have if you have a crew that's highly skilled and they can do the work in half the time, it's your revenue per man hour is going to be way up.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like the story where something's broken down like a motor and you call out people, they can't fix the problem. One guy shows up, he knocks on the motor on the right side, on the left side, he tightens one bolt and then he gets it going. And you're like, hey, what's the bill? And he's like, 10 grand. But let's say you were losing millions. Let's say it was a big manufacturer. He's losing millions per day for not producing. That guy solved the problem. 10 grand. Yeah, he's got the knowledge, he's got the skill. So the more skilled labor you have, the more you should charge. Because it's not because you're more productive that you should be penalized for that, in my opinion.
I've got a follow-up to that question based
Yep.
on your answer. So we know what our hourly rate is. On a percentage basis, how much of that are you allocating towards direct labor cost with burden?
Labor cost. Can you speak just a little bit more?
I'm
I
sorry.
heard part of it.
So the question is understanding what we're actually charging,
Yep.
what is the benchmark for actual direct labor cost with burden embedded?
Direct labor cost, it varies, but usually you're talking about the 30% of your cost goes
Got it.
towards labor. And so, but again, if you have highly skilled labor, it can vary a little bit.
Yeah, and the way I like to think about this is your budget dictates your floor.
Yeah.
Your market dictates your ceiling. As long as you can still sell the work, there is no ceiling. But you cannot go underneath your floor, your
Yep.
budget. And
Well
to
said.
Frank's point on that 30%, it's kind of an average benchmark for labor
Could be
costs.
25. Could
Yeah, right. Give or take 5 points from either direction. But to Frank's point about skilled labor is going to cost more. You're producing more with the same manpower, but as you're paying them more, you're also producing more. So that 30% kind of tends to kind of hover in the same area, regardless how skilled you are because of the production.
Good. Thanks for adding that. Appreciate it. Anything else? Like I said, I'm going to be here all day and tomorrow as well, and I'm looking forward. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about the stages of business, see where you're at. If you're looking to move forward, get things to be easier, we'll talk about systems. We'll also talk about what your time is worth. So I want you to think, going out to lunch, what do you think your time is worth per hour? Like if you would to go, let's say you work for yourself, right? Let's say you went to work for somebody else, and the person said, I can pay you anything as long as the value is there, because if the value is there, I know I'm going to be making a lot of money. But if the value is not there, then you're going to get fired. You can get paid any amount you want, but you have to produce the value. So what is your value? And we're going to talk about that. We'll have an exercise when we come back, and we'll talk about systems. So have a nice lunch. Is it out back?
There, Fred, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Frank.
Great, thanks, guys.
Frank Bourque, everybody.